In this class we want to talk about the function of management, and to get us started we're going to look at the cycle of management function. Now this is composed of planning, organising, directing and controlling. So we're isolating out these words as important in the context of management. We're saying that management plans, organises, directs and controls. And we want to look at each of these. So for example, with planning, we can have long-term strategic planning, which is a function of management, to plan the course for the business into the long run, to decide on its investment policy, on its approach to capital utilization and the types of capital it requires, to its marketing and so on. So there is a long-term aspect to planning. There is also an operational planning and also a short-range objectives and budgets scenario. So the operational, really, which subsumes the short-range objectives and budgets. The operational is day-to-day. It's what's happening now. So in this straightforward introduction, we have almost two time periods. The long term, which is strategic, looking into the future, and the operational, which is what's happening right now. In other classes on planning, business planning, three terms are usually identified: long, medium and short. Well, just to keep this class straightforward, we are just going to look at these two. So next we have the organising. This is the departmentalization of the business, breaking it up into departments for organisation purposes. So there's a department looking at production, one looking at accountancy, one looking at marketing, different departments, and they will have different staffing and different staffing requirements, and they will be organised with some system of delegation. And how the overall structure of the business is put together, whether it be tall or flat, that's a separate issue. All we're doing here is we're saying that management organises. It organises, and it may do through the use of departments. The directing is motivating the staff, and communications, leadership and training. Directing is ensuring that the staff are all pointing in the same direction, pointing in the direction that meets the objectives and the goals of the business. So directing is a function of management to enable the long-term plans to be achieved. Controlling looks at standards and assesses performance. It compares performances with set standards. So the management have an idea, perhaps a calculated stance on how long a particular task takes. Perhaps the cost and management accountants will have given them information on how long something will take, what the cost will be, and the requirements to complete the task. Management will then look at the actual performance and compare it with the standard set. Deviations from the standard will then be looked at and monitored, and if need be, corrective action taken. Now that's an overview of the broad functions of management. What we're going to do in the rest of this class is to focus in on one famous writer in the area, Henri Fayol. Fayol was a French engineer and a director of mines. His career was established during the 1916 period when he published The Administration of Industry in General. Now, this is one of the leading thinkers in this area, and really started off a whole literature on management and on our current views on management. After retirement, Fayol went on to publish a comprehensive theory of administration, and that's the area he's most widely known in administration. It discussed administrative management, its roles and its processes, and it was a seminal publication. It was the first. It was one of the ones that, as I said, kicked off everything. All the subsequent literature spun off from here. But it did add to a growing interest in management. There were other thinkers around at the time interested in management. It's just that his approach was very clear and very straightforward, and therefore widely understood and accepted. His theory of administration was based on his experience and observations of working in an organization. So it was derived from his experiences. He worked out a set of management principles aimed at developing successful management skills. All organizations have work routines that allow them to run smoothly and efficiently. This leads to a one best way approach to management thinking. Now, Fayol developed this to explain the functions of management and its roles and actions, which are still used. So he observed the business, he looked at what was successful, and what was successful then set out a set of procedures that led organizations to efficiency and to run smoothly. And this was their best way of doing things. And from there he went on to generalize and to look at how administration works. He identified the main functions of any organization as follows. First of all, technical. Now this is concerned with the manufacturing and production operations within a business. So he looked at technical. Businesses ultimately produce something. The commercial, purchasing, selling, supply chain, and so on. So he looked at that aspect. Those were two functions observed. The next one was financial. This considered the use of capital budgeting, project management, risk assessment, and so on. So he looked at financial. That's with technical and commercial. That is one of the bigger ones. But also looked at security, protection of people and goods and property within the business, one that we don't often hear about in reading on this. And he also talked about accountancy. It involves financial and management accounting, stock taking, costing, statistical analysis, an important function within the business. And finally, administration. This function analyzes management responsibilities and their expectations within the organization. So it looks at the management function. So we've got a list of headings. Working backwards, we have administration, accounting, security, financial, commercial, and technical. So he looked at those functions as important in the context of running a business. And out of this we get his 5 functions of management: planning, organising, controlling, coordinating and commanding. So these are Fayol's 5 functions of management. Now let's look at each of these very briefly just to complete this class. And we'll start with planning. Planning: prepare an action plan for the future, use current trends to develop future prospects, and of course the planning must be effectively coordinated on different levels. So planning, looking at an action plan for the future, looking at current trends and coordinating it so that it's effectively delivered. So that's our planning one, the one at the top. Next we've got organising. Marshal the necessary resources to accommodate the action plan for the future, including more employees and more supervision. The application of capital, personnel and raw materials for daily use of running the business is also important. So organising capital, personnel, raw materials, it's the organising function to ensure that there is smooth and efficient running of the business. Commanding, this refers to the manager's ability to supervise employees in order to achieve the desired action plan. Giving instructions and creating the expectation that the job will be done to the best of the employee's ability. It involves good working relationships with the employees and effectively communicating, or effective communications. So commanding is ensuring that the job gets done according to the schedule. Coordinating, well, that's the smooth running of activities between departments and employees. The resources for the action plan must be available and managed effectively. Fayol suggested that holding weekly conferences with department heads would be an ideal mechanism to solve problems of any current issues regarding the action plan. So the departmental meeting may be a good idea, or perhaps a meeting across various departments, departmental heads meeting to discuss some issue. So coordinating is to ensure that different parts of the business know what's going on elsewhere, so it's all coordinated, it all fits together, it all links. Finally, controlling. Well, the objective of this function is to ensure that the plans and instructions have been effectively followed. All weaknesses and errors have been identified and rectified. This function coincides with command and coordination functions. So controlling fits with the command function. The command function was to make sure that the plans were enacted and that the resources were coordinated to make sure that they were there to meet the plans. So controlling is enabling the management to move the plans, move the schedule, the production schedule or whatever it is, move that along to ensure that there is a good outcome for the business, that there is smooth production, efficiently produced, and it meets the requirements of the customer. So those are the ideas of one of the great thinkers in the subject, one of the early writers. And Henri Fayol is someone that you should be familiar with, and you should research more about this person and the writings, and make your own notes, pad out your own notes, and become familiar with his work. But that's all we need to do in this class, so thank you for watching.